This Sun-Gazette video coverage is proudly sponsored by Woodlands Bank.
Welcome back to another edition of Sports Talk here at the Williamsport Sun-Gazette. I'm Jon Gerardi, your sports editor, alongside Henry Huber and Chris Masse. Breaking down football here from Week 6 and looking ahead at Week 7. We'll start with Jersey Shore's win over Williamsport. Jersey Shore with a 52-13 win. Masse, the Bulldogs just got out to that fast start and just went ahead 27-0 before Williamsport got to really do anything. And obviously when you fall behind against Jersey Shore that big early, it's hard to claw back out of that.
Yeah, I think this was probably the best game Jersey Shore's played this season. They had everything working. Offensive line was dominating. They ran the ball better than they have all year for almost 450 yards and just kind of played bully ball early on and set the tone with the line. And Brody Herr had over 200 yards. Elijah Jordan had over 200 yards of total offense. Bo Sechrist was a good change of pace. So, yeah, I mean, the Dogs were flying on defense too, and Williamsport just couldn't get anything going. They shut down the run. Every time Elijah Way dropped back to pass, there were guys in his face. So it was a tough night for Williamsport, and I think we're seeing a Jersey Shore team that's starting to kind of hit its stride as we go down the stretch at a good time.
Yeah, I was going to say, establishing that run game after being, they were having success throughout the year, but they were definitely a bit more pass oriented. Kind of have more balance there. That could be huge down the stretch.
Yeah, and 561 yards of offense too for Jersey Shore. Obviously, they run that no huddle faster than any team in the district, or maybe even in the state. I don't know.
Yeah, but I've never seen anybody run it faster.
But obviously, Williamsport had the no coming in that we're going to be in against that tough no huddle offense, and I feel like the way Shore runs it, they wear teams down so fast, especially when you get into that second half.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't really think you can simulate it in practice either. I think you can try, but I just can't imagine anybody doing it the way Jersey Shore does it. I told you, I think Friday night, there were times they were going so fast that I usually keep the running tab of stats as I go, and I just had to say, tack with it. I'll catch up after this drive here and total them then because they were just flying so fast. And yeah, when they get that going they rattle off 10. You look at one of their drives, I think their opening drive was 11 plays, and it felt like it was a 4-play drive, but they're just rattling them off so fast. I think it takes a toll on you. I think psychologically it starts to take a toll on you too. And the thing is, a lot of those Jersey Shore players are going both ways, but they never get tired. It's pretty amazing how well conditioned they are, and I think in a lot of their closer games this year, I think you've seen the toll that can take on a team.
Yeah, especially if you're not getting much established on offense. You tend to get a bit more breaks just with the huddle and stuff.
Yeah.
As opposed to just constantly being on edge. And then with the mentality draining. It's very easy for that score to skyrocket.
Yeah. Defense, though, Massey, Shore I saw they had 57 tackles, and they held Williamsport to obviously they held them to 30 points, but Bo Sechrist with 10 tackles, he seems to be the type of player on defense that's just kind of all over the place and just making play after play.
Yeah, he all-state as a sophomore last year, and, I think he's better this season. He's he's the heart of that. I don't want to say the heart of it. They're good at all three levels, but yeah, it's rare that you see a tackle or, orange or white jerseys near the ball, and number 5 isn't one of the players that's near the ball. He just has a great knack for it. He does everything well. He plays the run well, but he can also drop back in the pass coverage where he can rush the passer. So he gives Alex Jackson a lot of options, and it's just kind of that pipeline of linebackers that they've had at Jersey Shore. They've had great ones for years, and he kind of took the torch from Hayden Packer from a couple years ago, and now he's running with it. And I think we've talked about it before, but the Sechrist name is like royalty in Jersey Shore, and there's so many good ones. And just this year, you got Bo, Slate's a beast up front, and Zeke, a sophomore, is having a really good year too. So if your name is Sechrist in Jersey Shore, you're probably pretty good at football.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 100%. Both those guys were very impactful in the game I covered against Shamokin. I want to say Slate might have gotten to Logan Logan Steele.
Logan the Animal Steele.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's even I'm very familiar with that name. I've only been here for just over a year.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think a lot of people thought this would be kind of a bit of a closer game because a lot of people, kept asking what would happen if these two played, blah blah blah. But I think Jersey Shore kind of made a statement like, it doesn't matter who's coming here. We're Jersey Shore. It doesn't matter if it's a higher school classification. We're gonna play our game and win convincingly.
Yeah, I think Tom Gravish does a great job of keeping the kids humbled and focused, and I think they're kind of like Belichick when he coached the Patriots. The players kind of spoke like Belichick in interviews, and I think he's got the players trained so well that they, very rarely do they tip their hand and say how much they wanted that game or something. You could they definitely wanted to make a statement, especially with a rivalry team and a 6A school. So I think it meant a lot to them, and I think they did want to make a statement. But they've been playing so many good teams this season already that I think they're so battle tested that helped them get ready for this game too. So it was kind of a perfect storm of factors coming together that helped them assert themselves in this area again.
Yeah, not to mention the momentum they reestablished against Shikellamy. And with what Chris mentioned about the player mentality. When I talked to Paul Hale after that Shamokin loss, it was very much on to the next. We'll see them at districts, that type of thing.
Switching here to Muncie Montgomery, the old shoe game. I think a lot of us thought this would be one of the better old shoe games in recent years. Muncie, though, which is a 41-7 win, that want to keep the shoe for a sixth straight season, I believe. Just a surprising result with that score.
I'll let you take it. Henry was there, so
yeah.
I'll give it to you first.
It definitely surprised me considering how much momentum Montgomery established through the 3 weeks leading up to that. But Muncie. They were very impressive. They kind of, they heard the noise about, how that people expected it to be close, and they ended up using that as momentum. Very much proved themselves on the road.
Yeah, I think quiet. I think they were a quiet 4-1. They had steamrolled 4 straight teams, but they really hadn't been tested. And I think they were pretty fired up. Building off of what Henry said, I think everything that we've been talking about with Montgomery, we've talked a lot about them because they've been so resurgent this year. And I think Muncie, wanted to make a statement like we're still really good and we're not going anywhere. So I think they came out and played a great all around game. And I think most impressive was the way they took control up front on both sides of the ball. I've said during Montgomery's first 5 games, I was really impressed with their line play. So I think for Muncie to come out and control the action up front and kind of dominate on both sides of the ball there, get their running game going, and conversely stuff a really good running game, that was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess just building off of that, they held Coy Bryson to under 30 yards on the ground, which is just astounding considering his recent.
Yeah, because he's had some big games lately.
Yeah, and then on the other hand, Austin Johnson rushes for over 200 and contributes, almost 60 yards through the air.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. I was gonna say, Landon Walmer and Austin Johnson, just a heck of a duo. Johnson, like you said, 23 carries, 208, 3 touchdowns. Walmer with 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's just I feel like that's such a tough running back duo to slow down because if you limit Johnson, Walmer's going to take over and vice versa.
Yeah, it's true. It's thunder and lightning. Johnson's a tank. You don't want to get in his way, and you can kind of pound him inside, and then Walmer's that change of pace back. And he's the definition of a home run hitter. He's got 10 touchdowns this year and over 400 yards on 29 carries. It's pretty astounding. He's averaging, I think, around 16 yards a carry, and Johnson's averaging 12 yards a carry.
Yeah.
So it's tough. You got to kind of pick your poison, and then on top of it, Styles Iyer can run. Plus, he's a pretty darn good quarterback. Yeah, we keep saying they haven't had to throw the ball a whole lot, but they're effective when they do it. So there's a lot on your plate for a defense going against them to try to counter, and for their I think Johnson's, for his career, is averaging over 9 yards a carry. Wammer's over 10. So it's a great duo. And then one more thing. Speaking of Johnson, he's up to 65 career rushing touchdowns now. Only 2 guys have ever had more in this area, Dominic Bragalone and Darrell Blackman, who are the 2 best running backs I've ever covered.
It's a pretty good company.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and they'll be the first to offer all their credit to the line and as well as their downfield blockers. I mean, Wammer on that 83 yard. On that 83-yard touchdown, I mean, he was just very patient, just following his downfield blockers.
Yeah.
Made a great cut and reversed field. I mean, it was just, it was just a very impressive overall performance for their rushing attack.
Yeah, I was just say, obviously, Henry, you were at the game. What would you say was kind of your? What would you consider the key takeaway from this one?
I mean, it was just. My key takeaway was definitely the upfront dominance. But I mean, just just how they never let their foot off the gas. I mean, up until the end. I mean, because Montgomery they had more they were progressively getting more and more promising drives together, but each time, with the exception of a late touchdown, they were stuffed. So I mean, they just never they played it 100% all the way through.
Yeah, shifting here to Lewisburg and Loyalsock. That was another good game that we kind of looked at from last week. Lewisburg the 27-13 win. Dragons now 6-0, Massey. Is that how impressed have you been with how they've been playing this year?
Yeah, really impressed. It kind of started last year. They were 2-5 last year, ended up 6-6, and got to the district semis. And they've built on that momentum throughout this year. But they're getting it done in all facets right now. Their defense is playing great. It was Loyalsock scored on the last play of the game, so they held them under 10 points there until the final play of the game, which is impressive against a team like Loyalsock. And I think they've got 2 shutouts. 4 of the last 5 games they've allowed 13 or fewer points. So that impresses me. And then, we've talked about Jeremiah Davis. That's a broken record, 10 straight 100-yard games, but his offensive line is outstanding. They've got weapons in the passing game. They're a really complete football team. And when I say that goes to special teams, where Cohen Hoover is one of the best kickers and punters around, and a really good athlete too. They faked a punt, I think, against Loyalsock. It worked out. He's done that quite a few times over the last 2 years. So they got a little bit of everything working right now.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, they face a Warrior Run team that went into that game averaging 38.5 points per game and shut them out. And then, Loyalsock, they had been averaging just under 35 over their last 3. And then, 7 up until the last play of the game. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I was going to say their defense has just been playing well kind of all around. And that's kind of what you want going late into the season as districts are approaching against, like you said, against Warrior Run, holding them, against the Loyalsock team, holding them too.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing good defense, you got a shot in every game. Offense can come and go. It's like pitching in baseball. But that gives them a shot every game. And if you can play defense and run the ball at whatever level you're playing at, you got a chance to win a lot of games. And they're doing both of those really well right now.
I was going to say, the running games for both teams. I mean, Dolan Harmon, 30 carries, 131 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Jeremiah Davis, 30 for 186 and 3 touchdowns. I think every week we mention how good Jeremiah Davis is. I mean, that's I believe it's 10th straight 100-yard rushing game or 11th.
Straight,
10th. Yeah, just how much of an impact player is he for Lewisburg to kind of keep that offense going?
Oh, he's huge. I mean, he's the engine that powers them. He's just such a dynamic player, and he's somebody that you really can't simulate at practice. You try to get you can run Lewisburg. The scout team can run what Lewisburg runs, but you can't really put a Jeremiah. You can't get somebody to simulate what Jeremiah Davis can do in the backfield. He does it all. I mean, and I was impressed when I saw him against Hughesville about his. He's explosive. He's got some power, speed. But he's patient too. He lets his blockers set up. He's a smart runner. He's got the whole package, and that sets up a play action game. They've had some success with the deep passing game. So yeah, everything kind of flows off of what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, he really, put the team on his back against Loyalsock because I think, I mean, similar to Loyalsock's game against Hughesville, they did play the pass very well, held the Green Dragons to under 50 yards, I think, through the air. So, yeah, I mean, like, very impactful.
Yeah. South Williamsport with a 23-14 win against Kawanisky Valley. 19. 14-19. See?
Which the Bears beat the Redskins 23-19 in the 84 divisional playoffs. You can look it up if you want to, folks. And I'm not a Bears or Washington fan, but I remember it. Because the Niners won the next week 23-0. Follow up. Anyway.
South, though, 14 points there in the fourth quarter to secure the win. South kind of just digging deep there when they need to in the fourth to get that win. I feel like that's just kind of Eisworth, kind of his coaching style, getting the team to kind of dig down when they need to get something going.
That's 2 straight weeks on the road, kind of the other end against Wyalusing where they had the lead. They had to hold off the Wyalusing comeback and forced a long field goal attempt that was short to beat Wyalusing on the road. Now they come back from 10 down in the fourth to beat Cal Valley. So, yeah, I mean, for as young as they are, with as many freshmen and sophomores that they have, to win under those circumstances, I think is huge in terms of their development, going down the stretch and into the future. They know now. They've proven they can win under tough circumstances, so that's huge for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, while it's a bit closer than I was expecting, I mean, they just keep finding ways to win, and that, I mean, that could definitely be a great sign for both the near and semi-distant future.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, typical South game, too, where Mounties carry it 48 times, just churning out those yards on the ground. 209 rushing yards, had 324 of offense. But that's just your typical South Williamsport type of offense. We're just going to run, mix in a pass once in a while.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to try to wear on you. You know what's coming, but more often than not, they're successful with it. You can, you can know what's coming, but if they execute it well, it's still going to work. And they've got, going back to the youth, Cade Lusk and Eli White, 2 freshmen. They've both gone over 70 yards in their last 2 games. Tad Lusk is a mobile threat at quarterback, and when they do go to the air, Dylan Scheller is a huge X factor. He's got more. He's now South's all-time leading receiver, but not all-time, in the 2000s. He's over 70 catches, so he kind of keeps defenses honest because he can kind of break a game open if he's got the ability to stretch a defense and make a lot of good catches.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he had 5 receptions for 91 yards. I mean, definitely provides some balance, and I mean, he's just an incredible athlete. Had a lot of success at state track in May, so that plays a role for sure.
Massey, talk a little bit about. I mean, Kawanisky, I felt they played them tough because they had Graham Hess, 126 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and also threw for 45. Just is he the type of player that Kawanisky kind of relies on to keep their offense kind of moving and sustaining drives?
Yeah, he's the veteran of their offense. They took a big hit when Fletcher Good transferred to Waverly in the offseason. Good was one of the area's more dynamic players last year, and so I think Graham Hess has taken on a bigger running role this year on top of his, I think he's over 800 yards passing now, so he's closing in on a 1,000-yard season there. So, yeah, he's kind of their motor. Dave Hess is not sure if they're brothers or not, but Dave is only a sophomore. He's been a really good big play threat for them. And Javon Ike, too, is having a good season, but I think their offense does run through Graham Hess, and that's the most competitive game Cal Valley's had with South Williamsport since South joined the NTL back in the early 2000s. So I think that was, it was a huge win for South, but I think it was also potentially a huge springboard for CV to know that they could hang with South as well as they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, even with all South lost after last year. I mean, they South, they mercy ruled them in 2023. So I mean, that's obviously a huge step forward for them.
Yeah. Moving on, Mount Carmel with the 42-21 win against Hughesville. I mean, Hughesville just run into the buzzsaw that is the Red Tornadoes. That's obviously going to be a tough game. But Blake Davis, 214 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, so he was able to still find some success against a really solid Mount Carmel team.
Yeah, and he's up to 17 touchdowns, but he's more than anybody in District 4, which is really impressive because Madden Patrick from Danville, who has, I think, 85 career touchdowns, has 16. So to be ahead of the quarterback from the number 1 team in the state, that's pretty impressive. And, yeah, he's having a great season. And he's throwing it really well. And Connor Knight's having a tremendous receiving season. He had 10 catches for 157. He's well over 700 yards receiving now with 44 catches. So their passing game's really clicking. And Carson Stackhouse, too. He's a player that's really coming on strong. So they, that passing game, when that passing game's clicking, they got a chance to put up some points. And if they can get enough running to kind of keep defenses honest, they can continue to be pretty dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, unrelated to their offense, but I also imagine Connor Knight may have played a strong role in Jalen Delaney going catchless, which, I mean, it's just astounding after what he pulled off against Montoursville.
He had 44 catches coming into the game. So that's it to shut him out. So pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean he was definitely a bright spot. Had multiple interceptions. I want to say against the Loyal Sock as well. Yeah. So I mean, that's an underrated aspect of his game is his defense.
Yeah. Another one, Montoursville with the 49-0 win against Central Columbia. Christian Banks just carrying the team again, 14 for 172, 4 touchdowns. He's just proven to be a heck of a workhorse for the Warriors.
Yeah, the banks are open on Friday nights. Ho! Yeah, he's having a great season, and he's got pretty good offensive line in front of him. They asserted themselves, and I mean he gets a head of steam going. He's tough to stop, and he came on really strong as a sophomore last year, and he's just taken that next step forward. And a hard worker that kind of sets the tone for him. I think he's up to 12 touchdowns now, over 700 yards, and Hayden Harvey compliments him really well. And then Alex Felver came in and ran well in the second half too. So that was a really good win for them. I thought Central. I thought it was a little dangerous because they had played Mount Carmel tough, and they had a lead against Southern Columbia. So I think to dominate them as thoroughly as they did was a really good sign for Montoursville.
Yeah, 100%. They bounced back well after a decent performance against the buzzsaw that is Mount Carmel.
Jimmy Messina he went 8 of 15, 138 passing. How nice is it, Massey, for the combination of Jimmy and Messina and Christian Banks? Kind of, they're able to throw it, they're able to run it. They kind of, you can't focus on one aspect of that offense. Yeah,
that's a nice. It's a huge help, and they spread the ball around in the passing game too. So it's, not only are you guarding against, not only do they have that balance, but they also, make it hard on a secondary to kind of focus on one or two guys. They can't really double anybody because Jimmy spreads it around, so well. So they give defenses a lot to think about and keep them on their toes a lot, and that's one of the reasons they've been pretty effective all year. The Mount Carmel game's the only time they didn't score at least 20 points. Only team to score 20 against Danville this season, so they've got some nice packages there that they can throw at teams, and a lot of weapons that are giving defenses a lot to think about.
Yeah, I mean that keeps defenses on their toes when they might be packing the box a little more. Yep. And then I mean with their focus spread that definitely helps that run game prosper. I mean I think they ran for over 300 yards against Central.
Yep.
So yeah.
All right, well that'll do it for this part of the sports talk. We'll be back to break down week 7.